Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ongoing Mastery, Presenting and Speaking, the podcast, and in this case, the interview about coaching. So today I have Rosie Zilinskas, who did a coaching session with me and has agreed to come back on and talk about what that experience was like, what she thought about it, and generally about how it impacted her work. Hi, thank you so much for coming back on. I really appreciate it. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Kirsten. How are you?
I'm good. It's one of those things where you and I are both running hairpins of flying right now. Lots going on. So, it's all good. So first of all, tell everybody who's either watching this on YouTube or listening to it on all the socials and stuff, what is it that you do? What's your work? Let people know more about you.
Sure. So just to be clear, my name is Rosie Zilinskas. I know
Oh,
my
Zilinskas.
last name is always
I'm so
butchered.
sorry.
No, it's perfectly fine. I'm used to it.
And I've known you forever. So it's like, oh God, I'm so sorry. Zilinskas. There we go.
I am the founder and CEO of No Woman Left Behind, and it's a brand where I help career women articulate their worth with massive confidence, conviction, and clarity so that they can have the career of their dreams. And the reason I started this was because I'm a 30-year corporate veteran. And when I was doing onboarding for new hires, I noticed that young women would sit and wait pretty much almost kind of like waiting for permission to speak. And then the younger guys were just like speaking. So I kind of started noticing a trend. And then as I was more in the industry, I noticed this more and more. And my kids started, they were like 17 and 19 or so. And I was like, I need to do something because they didn't need me anymore. So I'm like, I need to do something. I started volunteering, and then one thing led to the other. And now I have my business. I also have a podcast called No Woman Left Behind. And again, my company is called No Woman Left Behind. It's all about women empowering, and I love it.
Fantastic. So to be clear, you're not having women find their ideal career, right? Or are you? Or are you taking women who are in their ideal?
I do not do that. You're correct. So I have a coach that I refer people to if they're trying to figure out what they want to do. I work with women that already know what they want to do, that want to continue to advance up that corporate ladder.
Fantastic. Okay, great. So first question, what is it that brought you, so first of all, you and I know each other through a group called Innovation Women, which is a speaker visibility bureau that is geared towards giving more access to get women on more stages. And you and I met through that. What is it that made you decide to get a coaching session with me to work on online presenting?
Well, I will tell you that the one thing, first of all, I love Innovation Women. I think it's a great group. The one thing that attracted me to you is that you're always providing such incredible value to the group. And whenever people have any kind of question, you're always, chiming in, either putting stuff in the chat and coming out and sharing your expertise. And as a matter of fact, when I first joined the group, I didn't know who you were. So I emailed Bobby and I was like, it's that woman that she has her headset on and she always
has ponytail.
Yeah, hair up. And I'm like, I need to talk to her. So you stood out to me very specifically from the group.
Oh, good. Okay. That's super helpful because that lets me know that that's actually really useful. And that's a way to kind of not only help people, but showcase. So because this is a genuine feedback session, even though we are sharing it with the world, what I'd like to know is we're going to get into what we covered and kind of what that did for you. But what would you adjust or tweak? What can I improve or adjust, or what feedback do you have for me for how to make things better?
I guess the only feedback that I can think of is maybe it would have been good for me to have do a little bit of pre-work. So for example, if you provided me with a checklist and said, hey, Rosie, these are out of these maybe 4 topics, these are like the maybe 5 or 10 things that you might want to think about. So which one of these topics do you want to address? So that way I kind of know and have a little bit of a thought process on how to better work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also know the same thing, because
Okay.
I kind of got on and I knew I wanted to ask you questions about me presenting online better, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what that entailed until I
Okay.
started talking to you. So I think for me, it would have been good to have an idea, kind of like a pre-framework
Mm-hmm.
going into the conversation so that I kind of knew what to focus on.
Great. Okay. That's great. I will make a note of that and I will build that in. That's super helpful. So what sort of things did we when we covered what sort of things did we cover and talk about?
Well, we talked about I wanted to learn how to be more engaging presenting in a virtual webinar. And
Mhm.
some of the things that we covered were simple things that are like so powerful, kind of like going in and out of the camera, using voice intonation, asking questions at the very beginning, engaging the group. I think that
Okay.
was the biggest thing, because one of the things that we talked about was just asking questions so that they can start participating in the chat right away, even before I start speaking. So those are all things that we worked on and I implemented. I think the week after that, because I was going to present, and it worked like a charm. So it was fantastic.
Awesome. So the event that you had the week after our coaching, tell people about that.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The event that you had right after our coaching. Tell people, if you can, a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So that event was a group of young women in the financial industry, and they were maybe like 1 or 2 years into their careers. And so I was teaching them about leadership and how to advocate for themselves.
Mhm.
And it was very enlightening how quiet they were. And by asking questions, I was able to draw them in, and they were more engaged and I felt more of a connection. So
Okay.
it it kind of went from the beginning of them being more quiet, feeling more comfortable. That was kind of one of the things that we talked about, me feeling comfortable. Um, I should say, me making them feel comfortable so that they can start engaging and asking questions. So the entire program was about giving them some skills so that they know how to empower themselves and how to advocate for themselves in the corporate world, specifically in the financial industry, which is very male dominated.
Awesome. And you also recently on an Innovation Women session, just in fact, yesterday, I thank you for being
Yes.
gracious. I called you out and said, "Hey, Rosie, share your win," because I was so thrilled. So you've
Yeah.
gotten a keynote recently.
Yes, yes. I was a keynote speaker on Wednesday, and this was through the Mom Project. And it was awesome because so I did a session called Know Your Worth, and it's
Mhm.
specifically about negotiating. And I did 6 sessions about that. And in my podcast, I did a series on negotiating. So all of those podcasts are available for people to listen to. But out of that came this Know Your Worth keynote and a beautiful workbook that's on my website. And I got such great feedback. I launched a quiz, and 86 people signed up for my quiz while I was doing my keynote. So it was using all the techniques that you taught me. And I was standing for my presentation. So I was able to kind of pull in and pull out and ask questions and things like that. So it was amazing. It was probably the best speaking engagement that I've had thus far in my speaking career.
Fantastic. And the reason I wanted you to bring that up is because I want the people who are seeing this to know the kind of breadth of what it is that you do. So if they want to, engage with you, they could bring you in as a keynote. They could bring you in as a workshop facilitator. They could
Yes,
also have you do individual or group coaching, right?
absolutely.
So where do
Yes.
they find you?
The easiest place is to go to my website. It's nowomanleftbehind.com, and that's WOMAN, woman. So nowomanleftbehind.com. I have all my information on there. My quiz is right on there. So they can also take a course, buy a book, and a few other things on there.
So you mentioned buy a book. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I was part of a compilation book of tremendous speakers, and we did a book called Engaging Speakers, Voices of Truth. And I actually just tell a little bit about my story in my chapter. And I also have a course that people can take if they go through the chapter in the book.
Fantastic. All right, perfect. Thank you. I really appreciate you coming on today. I hope this gives everybody kind of a sense of what your work is, what my work is, and just generally that, you know, whether or not they find individual coaching to be helpful or group coaching to be helpful, that all these things are possible. And the last thing is, could you remind everybody about your podcast?
Yes, my podcast, again, is called No Woman Left Behind. And I just do different interviews, or actually conversations. Mine aren't interviews, but they're conversations with a variety of incredible women that have already walked the corporate world, and a lot of them have transitioned now into entrepreneurship, which is another thing that I don't talk a lot about, but women are able to leave the corporate space and go into entrepreneurship. It's not easy, but it can be done. So we talk about all kinds of ways that women can empower themselves to continue to advance in their career or in their business.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I hope this is useful for people watching and listening. And I will see you, well, next Friday, certainly in the next Innovation Women Speakers, Speaker Friend
Thank
Friday.
You so much yes. Thank you so much for having me, Kirsten. I appreciate it. This was great.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And I will see you next time.